Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and today I wanted to talk to you about The Anatomy of Dreams by Chloe Benjamin. I don't do video reviews very often, but I figured, why not start? So, basically, I picked this book up a few days ago. I was intrigued because I had just finished Cloud Cuckoo Land, and I was looking up things that might give me the same vibe, the same atmosphere. So a brief description, sorry, let me put my glasses on so I can see better. A brief description of Cloud Cuckoo Land is, I think the reason why this was compared, for those of you who like literary fiction, I think the reason why this was compared to that book, if you're familiar with that book, is the premise that it's very whimsical, it's very cerebral. You don't necessarily know what is truth and what is fact, and so it has a very dreamlike quality. So I think maybe that was why this was compared, but that's about where it stops. All of the things that I loved in the previous book are things that either were non-existent in here, or they were concepts that, in my opinion, fell really flat. So what this is following is, it's following a girl named, and I can't even remember her name, and I just finished this book, Sylvie. It's following this girl named Sylvie. She was picked to be a researcher for an experiment, and it's Sylvie, Gabe, and Dr. Keller. And between the three of them, they're trying to figure out a way to dream lucidly. So again, it seems like an interesting premise, like, who wouldn't want to be able to control the thoughts that they have when dreaming? I enjoyed the research that went into this. I think Chloe Benjamin did a really good job researching her topic. I think she did a really good job analyzing the basic psychology. We have mentions of Carl Jung in here. We have mentions of Sigmund Freud in here. Their thoughts and philosophies and beliefs are almost in a way juxtaposed in here between what's actually going on and what is just a moral premise, which I do appreciate. I personally am looking to go into the field of psychology, so I do like that it took the moral aspects of what we consider to be appropriate when setting up a research study, and it kind of juxtaposed what has previously happened in this field with what our narrative is, and I appreciated it for that. The things that I did not care for, though, are what ultimately led to me giving this a 3-star. So, without spoiling too much of the book, it delves into a lot of things that, from an academic standpoint, I don't know if I could get on board with our protagonist's thought process. And it's even, in a way, it kind of lends itself to being meta, because she even says, and multiple characters like Gabe and Dr. Keller even say, when she's starting to question the validity of the research being done in here, like, well, what is actually inherently wrong? And if you're looking at this from the scientific lens, science is supposed to be unbiased, and the reason why Sylvie has problems with it is because she invokes her own bias, and it ends up being this thing where, again, without spoiling too much of the book, she ends up being correct in an area of her life. I will say that the plot twist in this was very well done. I did not see it coming. There were little hints throughout there, but it wasn't even like red herrings. Like, it straight, it would give you a hint, but because of the way that this is written, because this is written with such a dreamlike quality attached to it, I just didn't see it coming. It was one of those, well, that's a possibility, but there's an infinite number of possibilities because you're writing with a dreamlike quality. And again, I don't know if I necessarily enjoy that, because when I'm reading a literary fiction that has thriller elements into it, I need more meat to it than just, oh, well, this is a possibility, but there's also 5 other possibilities. So, like, you know, who knows if that's the possibility that we want to have that we want to go down that route of. And I don't know if I like that. I liked the meta-ness of this. I liked the idea that we're putting 3 characters into a world where the whole topic and the whole focus is about dreams, so it feels like a dream. But I also don't like when you're talking about really hard hitting topics, when you're talking about the meat, the crux of this book, the crescendo that is like the final reveal. I don't like the fact that because you spent so much of the time in Dreamscape, it's hard to take it seriously. And again, I think that's why it falls flat. I think that's why it's so difficult to feel raw emotion when it comes to these characters, because like, okay, so this happened, but the rest of the book happened and things were just as weird, but it also made it feel like it was not necessarily like on our plane of reality. So why am I supposed to care about this awful thing that happens? Why am I supposed to care about it when the rest of the book had these really odd vibes and nothing was fleshed out? And so again, for me, it was just kind of like, okay, well, you know, that is what it is. I will say Chloe Benjamin's writing style when it came to Dreamscape, and I have not read her other book. I've heard that The Immortalists is very good, but I've not read The Immortalists, so I cannot say if that's just like her writing style, if it's grounded in the idea, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be way out in left field here, but The Immortalists is magical realism. And so when you're talking about like dreams, and you're talking about these pieces of reality that aren't necessarily like fleshed out, that isn't that magical realism. So I mean, like, how much of this is the author's writing style versus how much of this was intentional? I'm not sure, just because I'm pretty sure The Immortalists is magical realism too, right? So like, I don't know. But all in all, it was a solid book. The plot was, you know, it moved pretty well. The pacing was done really, really well. And the actual like twist at the end, I thought was really, really good. I just don't know if I necessarily agree with the choice to write it the way that she wrote it on top of the plot. Like, I think if we were looking at this from a literary fiction lens, like what I was saying with Cloud Cuckoo Land, if we looked at this from a literary fiction lens, I think it would have done a lot better than if we had added that really weird twist at the end. It's a good twist, but with the writing style, it's a little odd. So, I mean, yeah, overall though, it was good. It wasn't anything to write home about, but I mean, and I'm pretty sure, like, again, I give this a week and I don't know if I'd necessarily remember it. The other thing that I find really, really annoying is how many Eternal Sunshine references there are in this. So, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one of my favorite movies, and quite frankly, in my opinion, and it's gaining a lot more traction now, but when it first appeared, when it was first a movie, it was not popular. In my opinion, like, surrealism was just starting to become an idea where we were taking the lens of surrealism and starting to really work with it and play with it in the early thousands. So, like, you have Donnie Darko, you have Eternal Sunshine, you have Mr. Nobody. I believe that was also early thousands. I could be wrong about that one, but that is a genre that I love. Which again, I was excited for this because like that's what I enjoy. Um, and the amount, like there's even, I don't even know why Chloe Benjamin decided to even put this, but there's legit, I highlighted a scene where again she doesn't know what's happening, she doesn't know she's drunk, she doesn't know what's happening, and the guy makes like the "oh my darling Clementine" thing, and then like a week later she hears "oh my darling Clementine" and goes, "oh, what the," and like if you're gonna be if you're gonna use a, in my opinion now, a popular movie, and you're going to take very direct notes from that movie, why you didn't even mask it? Like you straight up tried and went there, and I don't know how I feel about that, because Eternal Sunshine is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. So like I don't I don't know how I felt about that. It was very weird. And again, like I said, I wanted to love this because I love the idea of surrealistic uh, works. I love the idea of things that aren't all quite there. We see things in gray. It's not all black and white. I love reading books like that. But I don't know if this was the correct story to attempt to do that. Um, I think it could have been done a lot better. So that's my take on The Anatomy of Dreams by Chloe Benjamin. Like I said, 3 stars. Um, Not bad. I honestly, I would read it if you like surrealism. I'm just saying it's probably not going to be the thing that blows your mind. I'd probably use this as a palate cleanser for something more heavy hitting. If you are into thrillers, I would say that this would be a nice light palate cleanser. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Anatomy of Dreams, and yeah, so